You see this pile of crap? Well, this is the metal scrap trailer. So I started looking around that, and I did find this right here is that transmission, the one that I supposedly junked. So if the body is here, hopefully the rest of it is here. I don't know where. I haven't spotted it yet. And I also may have taken those pieces and put them in one of the parts cars. But we'll see. So it stands a chance. I do remember I had cut one of the axles right off because it wouldn't come apart. It beat the snot out of it. That's okay, we're just looking for a couple of bearings. Alright, well, I'm going to do some poking and hoping inside here and see what we can find. I'm going to go, before I go too crazy in here again, I'm going to go look in my parts cars and see if I did store it somewhere else. Just give me a glimpse. I think that might be an axle to it right there. Or was that going to suck to get to? Now there's another thing too. There's called a there's two different size axles. One is a there's a big nut and a small nut. They're called buses up to 65 have what's called a small nut setup. They are the same as a Beetle. Yeah, there's a shim from it. So, or a bearing or a race. If that fits over my axle that I have, then I'll know I have the same size. Anyway, so there's two different sizes. I'm gonna have to shut you off, the radio's on. So, this would be what the setup bolts to. This is what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, I think it's the wrong one. So that would be the race from that bearing right there. So they are not going to be the same. Although that's what I need, but I have a feeling these are larger too, but I'm not sure. We're going to have to go probably rip that out of there because you need that bearing. That one I think is okay. Yeah, it's not the same size. Might only need one. Which is, where was it again? It's still stuck in here. That is not the same thing. We use this for a tape measure. How's that? Would that be the same as that? I have a feeling the idea of that is smaller, judging by the end of it. But we'll see. See if we can come up with something. Alright, so under all that, move the pumpkin out of the way. Yeah, you guys can fit down there. See that guy? I believe that is what that's my prize. Whether there's a good bearing on it or not, but that should contain the bearing that I need. And of course, it's probably the first thing I threw in the trailer, judging by its location. So, yeah, I got me some leather gloves, and I'm gonna start digging and tossing to the front, and see if we can get something out of there. Worst case scenario is I'm gonna come over with the backhoe and dig a hole to it. Went digging, and I may have found my prize. That may be the bearing that is on the endangered list. So I'm going to bring that back and see how it makes out. And I don't know what I need of any of this yet, so we're going to just leave that in a well-to-do place, and we may be revisiting that. But let's go see if that's going to work for us first, and if I can get it out is the other part. All right, so I ended up tapping that bearing out of there. That's where it was, and that's not the one we want. And compared it to the new one, and that worked out okay too. But the new old one has pits in it. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I did with it. Anyway, it's around somewhere. Is that it? No, that's not it. So I went to the store. Oh, I didn't tap it out of the other housing yet. That's what it is. So that's the one. The other one I cleaned up, but it's got pits in it from where it was sitting in rust. And that transmission, I remember, had water in it. So that's kind of why it ended up in the dump trailer to begin with. But I went down to my local parts store, and we had a brandy stinking new one in stock. So at least that part is taken care of. So it's okay. I took through that pile, and I did find something else I need. This ring was snapped. It's a retaining ring that goes inward on the other side. It's got a big C-clip you pull off, and then this ring's behind it, where the one that was in there was broken in half. So I still was able to get some kind of parts out of it so far. So did a little intermission, did a coffee break, got myself a cup of coffee and a snack from a friend, and we're going to have back at it in a couple of minutes and probably start a little backstory. I got this trans from VW Darren, and I actually ended up putting it in Lucy. Lucy is the other bus over there. But it had a problem with it. It would bang out of gear when you would try to go through the gears. But he had all tore apart. I have a feeling there may be something just simple wrong with this. So instead of me trying to fix that trans, I, for now, am going to see if we can diagnose what happened with this one and maybe use this one instead of the one that had all that metal bits and guts kind of circulated through it. So, and the other part being, this being a later trans, whether it's the same or not, is going to be the difference in that bearing right there. You know, the fact that that one has that style flat bearing, and the one that came out of there has that, what's left of that round one that's in there. So they may or may not be the same style. We shall find out. Also, the you have to totally disassemble everything to get that bearing off of there. Everything's got to come off the shaft to go do that, and I may not have the capacity or the tooling to set that up. So that may be another reason why this is might be a better option. So enough of me babbling, and we go have a couple sips of coffee, turn the radio back on, and pull the ass end off of this and see what we got. All right, more investigation. So again, this is the trans that I just took apart, did nothing to, and it was a functioning trans, but had gotten water in it, got it iffy. All right, you got 3 shift forks. These two, one of these is these are the forward gears, and the bottom one is reversed. So we're just concerned about these two. So I pushed this one all the way in, and it bottoms out. You see where it bottoms out right there? All right. So what that does is it slides it over to this location. It moves. It's this fork moving this set of gears, and you can see the gap that's in there. It's almost pretty tight, right? You can barely see the end of the gear. All right, this one, same thing. I got it right against it, and look at the gap that's there. So that's kind of almost confirming what I'm thinking with that showing too much meat right there, and that fork got driven in. So I'm gonna try backing that one up, but the problem with the bottom one is why I can't do that, and why you would have a jig is because the bottom rack, let's see if I can explain it. I have to pop it in neutral to do it. Hold on one sec. Pop that back in neutral. Okay. This whole bottom rack, see how much that can move? So you don't quite know where that shift fork is, because it's all dependent upon when you bolt this into the housing where it's going to sit. So what I'm going to do is put it back in the housing. I'm going to run 2 bolts in it just so it draws this bearing up to wherever it's going to go sit. And on the back, see how that's moving? What I'll do is I'll take a feeler gauge and I'll measure that, and then I'll know where I need to go set this, and then I can adjust that shift fork so that right now it's in neutral. That's 1 gear, that's the other gear. So if this thing, you know, sits like that, you'll notice it's never really even going to catch that gear. Well, it's already trying to drive into that one. So, and then we can fine tune that one. If I find that that's the issue with both of them, I already know what the top one is, but if I find that's the case with that one too, then I'm going to suspect that that's what was wrong with this, and I'll reset them the best I can and go for it, see what happens. Alright, so I put that back together quickly, and I just ran one bolt in it to suck the thing all the way forward, and the case is closed. Then I grabbed my feeler gauge setup, and again I want to see what the gap of that's going to be, so that when I take it out and it's floating, I kind of know where to put it. And it seems to be a 10, a 12, and a 13. So what we got, 35 thou. So 35 thou seems to be the gap. So that's where I'll know where to put it when I take it back apart. And probably looks about the same too. Not that that one moves. And we'll go from there, and then we'll try to figure out and put the gears right in the middle of each of those with that much spacing on the back of that trans. Alright, so I'm going to take it back apart again and see where we are. Alright, so it's back out, and I took the feeler gauge and I set that guy up for 35 thou on the back right there. So I have an idea where that shaft is now. It's supposed to be that assembly. And all the forks are in neutral. And when you look at it, okay, this is one gear, this is the other gear. If you look at it, it's already hovering over the top of that one, and it's not even close to this one. It's actually, you know, it's almost ready to pop out of the synchro. It's sticking so far out. So again, it kind of holds true with that rod just being set totally in the wrong place. So I am going to go loosen that up and center that the best I can, and I'm going to do the same with the top. I'm going to take that top one, probably put it in this gear all the way forward, and I'll leave the same gap that I saw on this transmission, and get those forks where they're supposed to be, and I think we may be okay. I don't, you know, I don't know enough to be able to catch something out of place or misaligned. I kind of doubt they would even kind of spin together if that was the case. I don't think you could actually put something in the wrong spot. Yeah, so I'm looking for one to the other. I just don't see anything. So may bite me in the ass, it may not, but that's what I'm going with. I'm going to go set those two up now and see if we can start washing stuff and getting some reassembly back together, and start getting this thing back in one piece again. That's my setup now. I moved both of those forks. You can kind of see the gap on that one. We used to be protruding fairly far. Not that you're supposed to do this, but and the gap on that one. So it's already in the other gear. Let's see if I can go pop it the other direction there. What am I doing? Oh, that's in neutral. So we're gonna go put. They have detents on it, so it's kind of hard to bump them. There we go. So I'm in neutral. I'm looking at the gap between that side and that side. You can kind of see that they're fairly in the center now. I took a feeler gauge, and it's got some slop to it too. You know, it does kind of move around a little bit, and I should have stayed put. But anyway, so now when you move it, you notice it closes up the gap on that side. Let's see if we get the guy the other way. There it goes. And if you notice, it's got the gap closed up on the other side. So now it seems like it's in the center of the gears, and I kind of have an idea where that goes. So we'll put that one back in neutral. Okay, so that one's in neutral. And this one up top is in neutral now. And you notice the gap now is closed up, and it pretty much imitates gap that's on that one. Now the only thing that's got me a little concerned, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about checking it, or if I can check it, is reverse. This is the little pinion for reverse. It doesn't have that same setup where you loosen a bolt and you pinch it. It looks like it's got a jam nut, and you run this guy in and out probably for the adjustment. Now I'm just kind of going by threads. I don't know, was that one 1, 2, 3, 4. And that one looks like 2.5 or so. So I'm just kind of wondering if that guy is, you know what we would probably do? Let's try to go about the correspondence, the distance between those two. That's what I'll do. I'll put them in neutral. I'll do it now while you're watching. All right. It says me, right? Okay. Neutral's when all three of them are lined up. Let's go with neutral. Put that one. Wish you'd make a left-handed camera. Alright. Okay. So I'm going to probably measure the distance between there and there. I'll get a caliper. Not that this is really meaning anything worth a damn, but that one feels a little tighter than that one. Reverses by itself, I wonder how sensitive it is to being in and out of gear. Let's see what the distance of draw. That's quite a bit. I have a feeling whether that thing's out a 1/16 of an inch or so, it's not going to matter all that much. This is reverse gear. It's actually done inside the belt housing. I don't know if I can show you. There's reverse right there. See how it touches the other gear? It drives it. And then that guy ends up going like that. Just up like that. So actually I could probably just check it right there. So that'll be in gear. So that's square to the shaft. It looks like I probably go a little further. I'll pop it back into neutral. I'm gonna have to put you down. Anyway, I'm gonna pop that back in the neutral. That's what I'm gonna do. That's how I'm gonna figure it out. I'll set that guy up right in the center like that. I'll see where it sits, and I'll pop it back out. As long as it's out of the way and not rubbing up against something else, we'll make that our fine tuning.